My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Bridget Jones' Baby. And back in 2016, I had very low expectations for this movie, but I was surprised at just how much I loved it. I was very positive towards it. But plenty of time has passed. I just rewatched it for the first time, and what movie did I watch back in 2016? Holy shit, this is way worse than I remembered. This movie is terrible. But let's begin talking about the cast, and that is the best part of this movie. Renee Zellweger is given terrible material, but she tries her best. It's a serviceable performance. Colin Firth is doing nothing new here, but I still think he is very charming in his own way. There was one scene where he's like, "That is the greatest news I've ever heard in my entire life," and it's just delivered perfectly. Patrick Dempsey, I think, does a real great job here as well. He's very charming and likable. Sally Phillips, I thought, did a very good job. She could be quite funny. Emma Thompson is not in this movie much, but she does stand out. She has a few lines which are delivered so perfectly, and I thought she was funny. And it was nice to see Ed Sheeran in this movie. I know he gets lots of hate, but he is still one of my favorite modern artists. I really love his music. I've seen him live like 3 times. So that was a nice little cameo. The soundtrack is alright. There's Fuck You by Lily Allen. I like the Ellie Goulding song in the end credits. And the movie does have a few funny moments, especially one scene early on where Bridget takes a phone call when she's supposed to be giving someone lines for the TV show. That made me laugh. And that's where my positives end. Now on to my negatives. And the biggest one is just the fact that this movie is nothing new. This movie begins with Bridget celebrating her birthday by herself, and I was just like, this is exactly like the first movie. We're 3 movies in, and nothing has changed. She hasn't grown, she hasn't evolved, it's just more of the exact same. And I think characters in franchises should grow, should progress. It's what keeps the sequels feeling fresh, and this movie doesn't feel fresh. It feels repetitive. Like, the movie begins and Mark is married to someone else, so she's jealous of someone that she thinks is still with Mark, but there's a misunderstanding, just like the second movie. There's a point where she sees him and her back together, so Bridget just leaves Mark alone, just like the second movie. It is just tired by this point. But what makes it even worse is just how big of a piece of shit Bridget is, and the movie constantly wants us to feel bad for her. Oh, she's so weird and quirky and different. Don't you love her? And I'm like, no, she's a selfish narcissist. She's lying to these 2 guys, and the movie just wants us to feel bad for her, and she treats Mark Darcy like shit time and time again. From everything we have seen in the movies, he is nothing but good towards her. And she's just awful. Wouldn't it be nice if this movie began and her and Mark were living happily and she gets pregnant and it's those two as a couple figuring it out. Like that could have been a great sequel, but no, they decided to give us the same plot again. Like shit, like just Bridget sucks. And at this point, I have to say Mark Darcy sucks because like he knows who Bridget is. Like it was really sweet in the first movie when he's like, I like you just the way you are. But at this point, he is being psychologically abused by this woman and he just puts up with it because he loves her. And like at the end of this movie, when they end up together, it's not a happy ending to me because why do I think that this time will be any different? So, yeah, like I don't even like Mark anymore because he should know better by this point. Once again, just no sense of growth. Everybody is exactly who they were in the first movie, and that's just boring. And also, this movie is far more liberal than the other two, to the point where it just feels virtue signaling at a certain point. Like, there's one scene between Bridget and her mother that serves no purpose other than to virtue signal, and it just took me right out of the movie, and there's a few scenes, a few lines like that. I also thought the fact that she was 43 and pregnant wasn't really addressed. Like, it can happen, but it's not very common. So I thought the movie might talk about that, but it never really gets brought up. On top of that, this movie is 2 hours long when there's no justification for it. Like, this movie should have been 90 minutes max. There was a point 2/3 in where I thought the movie was wrapping up, but nope, it keeps going for another 40 minutes. It's insufferable. And the supporting cast is just mainly absent. Like, Bridget's mom and dad have very little to do here. She has her group of 3 friends, which have very little to do. So at the end of the movie, when they all go to the hospital to see the baby, I'm just like, oh yeah, these characters exist. So, anyways, look, the cast is good. I think they bring some charm to the movie. The movie can be funny, but I'm just tired of this franchise. I am tired of these characters. It refuses to change, it refuses to evolve to the point where anything that happens in this movie just has no meaning to it. I think Bridget is a truly terrible person, and the movie's insistence on making us care for her is just completely tone deaf. I just I think this movie is truly terrible, so I'm giving Bridget Jones' Baby a 3 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Bridget Jones' Baby? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos soon, and Gavin out.